Good people, what's up? What's good? I know you guys are probably enjoying the show, but before we get started, let me tell you guys about Kush Inn Heights. It is a dope clothing brand that merges Black history with clothing. They are amazing, good people. Check them out and follow them at Kush_Inn_Heights. Like Heights, you already know how to spell that. Hopefully, Kush Inn Heights will have that spelled for you right here at the bottom. Check them out, follow them on social media, get you some dope merch, rock it. And what they especially talk about, which is really, really cool, is that the meaning of Kush. Kush was a dope civilization. Way before we started talking about cannabis and weed, Kush was an actual place before Egypt as well. So again, man, they talk about history. They merge that Black culture with dope merchandise, high quality. Follow the good people at Kush Inn Heights. Show them love and support on social media. Purchase, shop with them, and you will not be disappointed. Again, at Kush_Inn_Heights. Show them some love. Peace. Let's get back to the show. Shawn, what's up with you, man?
What's good, my guy? How you doing?
Just chilling, man. Just chilling. How about yourself?
Man, rocking and rolling, man. I'm excited to kind of be a guest and kind of be here with the people today, bro.
Yeah. Hey, man, first off, I appreciate you, man, just pulling up. Shout out to the Nip poster as well, man. I see you, man. So, Shawn, I've been following you for a while, man. You've been killing it. So it's about to be a dope conversation. So we're about to get this thing started.
Let's do it, bro. I appreciate that.
Sir. Hey, anytime, man. Shawn, how did you get started in podcasting? Such a big field right now, but you've been killing it. Like from day one, you've been on Clubhouse, giving out game, serving folks left and right, man. So what inspired Shawn just to take a step out of faith and say, yo, I want to share my whole entire voice, man, with the world? How'd you get started on that journey?
Yeah, bro. Like for me, like podcast was never the thing. It was never the hype. You know, I come from nightlife, parties. I've been throwing parties since I was 14. And so for me, what happened was that I gained a skill set that led me to learn how to attract people, how to get an audience, how to market myself. But the funny thing about that is that when you're throwing parties, everybody gets older, they leave, they move on, they go back home. And I had to figure out a career at that time, So I took that skill set and I went corporate. So I actually stumbled across podcasting. And the crazy thing about it is, fam, I was somebody who climbed that ladder so quickly. I was promoted, 6 times, in less than 4 years. And I took a job that took me 6 hours away from my family. When I took that job, when I was about to fall asleep, that's when I started stumbling across that weird purple app, which, has helped me, do what I'm doing today.
Yes, sir. That's a beautiful story, man. Seeing your story on Anthony O'Neill, his podcast, Nikki and Moose, it was just super inspiring, man. And, hearing you say that you were pretty much moving like a rapper when it came to networking, seeing like your brother and being like in the club scene, man. Can you break down for podcasters and just, overall creatives how important it is to just network with folks, meet people, shake hands, be confident?
Oh, man, it's everything, you're only going to get so far in life from what you're able to see, right? If I put you around a group of people, who are doing amazing things, at some point in your life, you're going to start doing amazing things, So networking for me has always been a key. Like you said earlier, back in the party days, definitely moving like a rapper, whether it was trying to, track somebody down and figure out what we're going to do next, or to get a certain celebrity at the club, and today, I do the same thing with the moves, but now it's so intentional because, you're building something, that can become a legacy.
Yeah, I love that. Building a legacy, building a podcast is like, having that where you got episodes cataloged, you got conversations saved. What do you love, man, the most about just being able to sit down and interview folks, whether it's through satellite on Zoom or just, sitting down in person, chopping it up? What do you love like the most about having those great conversations?
Man, it's just like, it's almost like therapy, man. You see someone not only tell their story, but, they're going to pour into you. You're going to pour into them. And I think for the world to see that, whether, if it's just one person, even on this live, right? If one person's watching this live and walk away and be like, what, I think I got something from this. That, to me, that's the best part about doing interviews. And plus, too, I think when you approach it with a sense of curiosity, it's almost like a masterclass for yourself. That should be something, even in the interview right now, like, that's probably a question that you got, that hopefully you can take away and maybe do something with it, free game.
Facts. A masterclass, man. So far, who's been your favorite person? And I know it's probably tough because you've interviewed almost everybody and their mama, man. But so far, what has been like that one masterclass for you that you just walked away from? Like, yo, I got a lot of game from this conversation.
Yeah, man, that's tough, man. If I'm gonna get in trouble, but I'm gonna give you two of them. I'm gonna give you two of them. One was when I interviewed Ed Milet, and I interviewed him in Laguna Beach, and to be, you know, on that couch, and I watched all these people, you know, sit down with this guy who's iconic, you know, in his space, and to that atmosphere, I saw that it was possible. You know, and then two, I would probably say Ryan Blair. It was one I did recently a couple months ago, and it was just one of those thought-provoking questions that, you know, that challenge you to become, you know, for me, you know, even a better dad. So I think when you have those type of interviews where you can see something's possible, by far, those gotta be, you know, some of my favorites.
I love that, Shawn, man. You got some heavy hitters for regular podcasters out there who are just trying to start, just launch. How do you attract big name guests?
Yeah, man. I think first you gotta have like some type of mission. It has to be something that, you know, that you're doing what you're doing. It has to be a why behind that, right? If you have a powerful mission, people are gonna want to come and be a part of it. So when I start talking about school and education and figuring out what's next, you know, that related to a lot of heavy hitters. You know, that if your podcast is relatable, it's a high chance people want to rock with it. And then I would say, you know, start taking almost like an athlete, start having stats. You know, stats of the show, or perhaps, you know, stats of guests you've had on your show, and make it a part of your pitch. And that's how you make your show stand out.
I love that. Hey, we can backtrack a little bit, man. Clubhouse. 2020 was crazy, man. Being on Clubhouse, going through the rooms, I would see you, man, consistently just giving out game. What inspired, you know, you to even take that step out and say, yo, everybody is like celebrities on this app, but I'm worthy. Like, I'm gonna step out. I have a voice too. What started that surge for you?
Yeah, man, Clubhouse, I mean, Clubhouse has changed so much, but in the very beginning stages, I just saw a void, right? I got there, I was quiet for you know, a couple of days, kind of observing scenery, and I realized, that was a void in really teaching, you know, a skill set, you know, and podcasting, you know, it's a skill set, you know, and I had the game, you know, I had the, you know, the steps to prove it, and I wanted to create something where it was like a community. You know, that's what led me to creating a podcast, Secrets Revealed, which now has about 43,000 members. But in the very beginning, appreciate that, family. But like in the very beginning, you know, with Clubhouse, just talking about how the app has changed so much, they were like the biggest podcasters in the world in that room, on that stage, moderated, from Lewis Howes to, you know, Wallow, $1 million worth of game, Pat Flynn, everybody was there. You know, and then obviously the app continues to grow. You know, becomes more of a, you know, a little bit more stagnant, but definitely was a great start.
Yeah, man, I love that. Again, man, from seeing Anthony O'Neill's podcast, you being on there, Nikki and Moose, something that you said that was so powerful was you didn't see anybody who looked like you in the space. How important is it for Black content creators, Black podcasters to see us on camera?
Man, listen, man, shout out to you for doing your research, man.
No, thank you.
I think it's impressive. I think it's important. You know, I think it's important that you see, right? That you see a visual that, yo, that person looks like me. I can rock with that person. They're relatable, you know, and see them in a different atmosphere. And I think that to me has always been important, is having that representation, you know, but also being that, you know, almost like that connector in a sense, to say, hey, look, you got something going on. We got something going on. Let's put it together. Let's see what rocks. So I think you know, it's a major key, bro.
Yeah, being a connector, staying on that same point. I see you, man, on your page, getting folks connected, filming dope content for great celebrities. What inspired like that whole thought process of, okay, I make dope content, but I want to help others create some dope content too? What started that?
Man, I think everything in life is kind of like steps, right? It's steps. So there's things that you're doing right now that you don't know why you're doing it, but people are observing it. And you're like, why am I doing that? You know, then there'll be something else that you start to do. And for me, what it was just a domino effect. You know, like you said, you know, I'm networking, I'm meeting people, I know how to make moves and things happen. You know, why can I do this for other people? But also taking on those relationships, you know, and furthering them. You know, and for me, that's been one of the joys. It's kind of like seeing, you know, all your talents come together. You know, when I was younger, you know, I used to always tell people back when, you know, I was hanging around a bunch of NBA athletes that, you know, take them to parties or take them to interviews, from like Quincy Miller to like throwing John Wall's, you know, first birthday party after he was number one draft pick. Like for me, I've always been a mover and shaker, but I never knew what would it turn into. And now I feel like I potentially could be, you know, the Rich Paul of entrepreneurs.
Talk about it. The Rich Paul of entrepreneurs. So where do you see everything like formulating to where it comes to consulting, coaching, podcasting, content creation? Where do you see Shawn going next?
Oh man, there's so many people that you can learn free game from, that you can kind of watch and kind of be like, you know, like I see it almost like the Black Godfather. I'm not sure if you, you know, if you're familiar with that. You know, I see it definitely being, you know, on those type of moves, man. Definitely without a doubt, bro.
Clarence Savant type of style. I see it.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely,
sir.
Clarence. Absolutely, absolutely. I definitely see it. But also, it's an area where I'm comfortable at. And I think
Mm,
whenever you're doing something that you have a lot of talent for, and you're doing it so effortlessly, I think
mm,
that's what you should really step into. Because
yeah.
then the moves you're making won't even feel like work.
Mm.
And that's the lane I'm in.
That's real. That's real. Every single day, what drives you? Because, I mean, again, to that same point about working in something that you love, it is not feeling like work. What drives you every single morning to say, yo, I'm going to keep dropping fire podcast episodes. I'm going to keep connecting with folks and just creating dope content? What drives that?
Oh, it's family, man. It's family by day.
Mm,
I got the wife, I got the kids, and
yeah.
I think what's really cool about that, I saw this. I think I read it. I read it in a book. I'm not sure exactly the author, but it's important to know. People always talk about, I want to make my parents proud. I want to make my
Mm,
parents proud. Your whole entire life will change and shift when your thought process is, I want to make my kids proud. So that's
wow.
gonna make you do something where you gotta, take your name and make it a legacy, make it a
Mm,
household name, and that's what I'm about. And that's what I look forward to doing, making them proud.
mm. I love that. School's over now. What? I love that title. I just graduated from college like 3 years ago, so I feel that title so much, man, because it's real. But what's the whole background story for the title, inspiration behind it, all that good stuff?
Man, it was like God spoke to me and said, what are people struggling with? And not only
Mm,
that, but like, what are you doing? And, I was excelling in a career. I was excelling in corporate, and my friends weren't excelling. They went back
mm,
home. They might have, they can't find a job, or they
mm.
might end up doing something they could have ended up doing rather than going to school. They didn't
Facts.
have the answer. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna create a podcast, called School's Over Now What? Because
Mm,
one, the title makes you think.
yeah.
Two, you automatically can relate to it, and
Mm,
three, you start thinking about your own story and
mm.
what did you do, and like what path you decided to go on. And I think that was probably one of the best marketing plays of all time by far.
Easily, easily, man. Right now, your podcast is doing numbers. I think top 0.5%
Mm-hmm.
globally, which
Yeah,
is crazy.
yeah.
Like below 1%, everybody tries to reach to be the 1% in life, and you're part of the 0.5. Like that's crazy, man. How does that feel knowing that I started from ground zero, and now I'm like literally at the top of the top when it comes to podcasters in the world?
Man, it really, it's really having a gut feeling about yourself, and sticking to it and sticking to it and sticking to it and believing it. Like if you're
Mm,
listening to this right now and you feel like, in your gut, like you're special, right?
mm,
You really are. It's just like, how do you keep
facts.
on tapping into that
Yeah.
moment, actually happens, and always have that gut feeling like, all right, I can do this, I can do that, and maintaining that from high school to college to
Mm,
corporate to podcasting,
yeah.
and still remaining me. I can walk
Mm,
in a room with some of the richest people and I'll still be in a hoodie. I'll
yes,
still be in
sir.
the J's. I think,
Yep.
being authentic is probably the best joy of all.
Being authentic. You talk about that on your page, acknowledging, which I love. Embrace being unique, which is a really, really dope message, man, because everybody needs that. When it comes to Black content creators, how do we feel comfortable with wearing a hoodie, with having a nip poster, with having any type of poster, like just showing off, like when it comes to the culture, wearing jewelry, like how do we stay confident in being who we are?
Yeah, I think the biggest tip I can tell you is like you're going to be more uncomfortable trying to be somebody else.
Mm,
You got to put more work into it if you're trying to be somebody else. So
facts.
like it's like if you don't, it don't matter what you're doing, whether it's the nip poster, or whether it's
Mm,
the yay or the J or
mm,
the Kobe, whatever it is. I think like that's how you really get over all of that type of stuff, right?
yeah.
Imagine if you're trying to be somebody else, and then you get a
Mm,
big spotlight on you, and you don't know how to act like that person anymore. You're gonna lose the
mm,
whole entire fan base. So I think for me,
facts.
that's the key. That's how you
Mm.
be more confident.
That's good stuff. You mentioned Ye. I saw on your page too, talking about Genius, and I felt like that was an amazing doc. It shows so much transparency with the whole like creative process, having to stay confident, ebbs and flows. What did you take away? I would probably say the most from Genius, and what can podcasters take from Genius and apply that to their own creative journey?
Yeah, man. First off, man, I think that was probably the greatest documentary of all time. I put it up
Yeah,
there with some of everybody. I think
yeah,
for me, the biggest takeaway is actually two of them. One, you got to document the journey. Like you have to
mm,
document the journey, even when you think things are boring, when you think things couldn't be hot. Document it. turn it into content. And even if you don't turn it into content then, you know, you turn it into content later, because imagine where you'll be if you, you know, if you trust what you can do. That's probably the second thing I would say I took away from Genius is that he trusted what he had in him. Like, he trusted what he had in him, and he stayed committed to it until he saw it through. And I think, you know, by far, I mean, that you had that mindset, it's game over.
I love it, man. In the previous interview, you dropped the bar about dream it, believe it, go get it. Can you please break that down? Because I love that concept. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. I think first, I mean, anything you're doing in life, you got to dream. Like, you have to dream. You got to see. And if you're stuck around people who don't allow for you to see it, get along with yourself and see it, right? You got to see if something's going to happen. And then next is believe it, right? When you think about believing something, you got to believe it's you that's going to do it. You got to believe, you know, that's you that can see it through. It's you that can make things happen. You know what I'm saying? And go ahead and get it. It's just all about, you know, the action. You know, it's all about that action. You know, whether, you know, you got to set up steps to work on your business when you get off your, you know, your job, or whether you got to figure out financially, can you leave your job? I think all of that is important. So you got to be actionable, and that's how you got to go out there and get it.
Leaving that job. How do podcasters, content creators balance working at 9 to 5 and then also creating that content at nighttime when it's time to create? How do we create that balance somewhat?
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think like for me, I think what helped me was realizing, all right, when do I have that free time, right? So, like, chances are, you know, if you're working at a job, even if you're working 60 hours a week, high chance you got one day off, right? How can you start being so, you know, intentional on that one day off? You know, map that one day off like you would that 9 to 5. You know, when you're working, you know, 9 to 10 at the desk, 11 to 12 doing something else. Give yourself a lunch break, right? Like, for me with podcasting, you know, I would set up interviews those days. You know, I set up interviews 2 days out of the entire month. I might just interview 8 people. The next 2 days, I might just end up just editing the shows and putting them out there. You know, I was just making things happen the way I could. You know, and that's, you know, one of the strategies I would say definitely, you know, put into place is first, you know, ask yourself, how can you give maybe that 20 minutes a day? How can that 20 turn into 30? And that 30 turn into an hour? That's the key.
Consistency, man. How did you just stay locked in and focused, man, of having to fit in 8 interviews? You're a dad, you're a husband, you was killing it at the job, man. So, like, what pushed that to just change like that mindset overall of, yo, I'm gonna try to fit in 8 interviews in one day? Because that's not easy, of having to research 8 different people, stay locked in each episode, make sure it's a quality episode, have to edit. So how'd you do it, man? What pushed you?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. You know, luckily for me, you know, like that, the one day I had off is the one day where I was by myself. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's a big game changer. You know what I'm saying? Making that one day by yourself, you know, and utilizing that one day to really say, okay, if I can do this, you know, and for 4 days out of a month, what could I do if I really went in all the way full time? And I think now that's what people are probably seeing right now with me, probably seeing with the page is that, you know, the last 3 years, you know, all the content I put out, all the interviews I was doing, fam, I was doing that with only 4 really working days a month. Now I'm out here, and I'm excited because I know it's about to be game on.
Yeah. Hey, you about to go crazy, man. So for podcasters who's trying to get started, what is a good first step? Whether it's equipment, whether it's, you know, finding a team, how should they get started?
Yeah, first step, man, you don't need no team. The first step, man, is first you gotta, like, one, get you that, you know, figure out the hosting site that you want to be on, whether it's Spreaker or whether it's Libsyn. 2, all right, get you a mic, you know, get you a Blue Yeti microphone. It's like $129.99, you know, at Walmart and at Target, right? After you get that, you know, that Blue Yeti microphone, next, you know, just plug it up directly to the computer. Download Audacity, which is a free, you know, editing software. You know, learn how to, you know, edit videos from YouTube. YouTube's the best teacher. You know, it doesn't take long, you know, especially with a software like Audacity. And you got to just work on getting your voice out there. You know, right? And I tell people all the time, you know, it comes down to like 3 episodes, 3 quick episodes in the beginning that's going to set you off. It's like, one, you got to just tell your story. Who are you? Why are we listening to you? Right? What made you, you know, say, hey, you know what? I want to create this show. I want to create this podcast. The second thing is, like, what can people expect? Like, what can people expect by listening to your show? Right? Are we talking about interviews? Are we talking about, you know, are we talking about tips? Like, what are we talking about, right? I think, and then the third step is really saying, you know what, I'm going to start giving you what I just told you I'm going to give you. So I said, I'm gonna give you an interview. You know, I'm gonna give you an interview. I said, I'm gonna give you the tips. This is why I give you the tips. You know, and really having a strategy behind it where people feel welcome, you know, for being on your platform. You know, next week, you know, we'll be at our 200th episode, which sounds crazy to me.
Congrats, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Appreciate it, fam. 200 episodes, never missed a week. You know what I mean? It just sounds so crazy to say that, but one of the most downloaded episodes, even today, is episode 1.
Wow.
When I was in the living room, you can hear the pin drop because people always want to know, you know, who are they talking to? Who are they listening to? So, you know, don't underestimate that.
Wow. 200 episodes, man. How do you feel seeing episode 200 and knowing, man, I started on episode 1? How does that feel for you?
Man, you see episode 200 next week. I mean, it's kind of like saying to yourself, if there's anything that you really believe you can do, if you're consistent at it, you can do it. You know, I started a podcast, you know, thinking it was a podcast, knew I could do something with it, but I would never imagine, yo, I'm sitting in front of you right now and like I'm good. I work for myself, you know, I'm changing the world, impacting people. And I think that whatever it is you want to do in life, whether it's to be the best cook, to be the best stylist, to be the best barber, or the best athlete, like you remain consistent, you're gonna do it.
Amen, bro. How do young podcasters, fresh podcasters who's just now starting, avoid podcasting fatigue? Because somebody who's on episode 1, they can say, yo, Shawn, I don't think I can make it to episode 200. So how do we plan out our content, our episodes, and just gradually build as we go?
Yeah, man, I think I would tell you this is one strategy is batch your days, right? So like, you know, like I would say, I was only giving, you know, all the content I gave people over the last 2 years was me working 4 days, right? So those days were just batch, right? So it's really, you know, 4 days, you know, out of that, you know, the 12 months of the year, that's not a lot of, you know, time to do it. But I say if you batch your days, you'll avoid the pie fade because the things you did not, you know, or won't like doing in the future, you're already taken care of. You've already sat down and interviewed somebody. You've already gave your tips. You already, you know what I'm saying? You already produced that content. And I think that's how you can, you know, avoid it. The next time I'll tell you is only work when you're, you know, in the best spirit and in the best mood. You know, so that you're not just putting out BS. You're like really focused on what you're dropping. And I would say it's definitely important as well.
I love that, man. Pod fade. How do we just keep going too, man? Like consistency, because like I would probably say one of my biggest pet peeves is seeing a friend start a podcast and they're done after like episode 5. And then it's like, yo, you put all this energy into it, man. You put all this energy into it. So for all the people who probably quit after episode 5 and didn't see all the views just yet, how do they stay encouraged and then just keep going and going and going?
Yeah, I think one, you have to have the mission so important to you. You know what I mean? That you don't want to let it drop. You know, whenever there's a mission that's important to you, one, you'll get people to believe in it financially, but also you get people that never want to walk away from it. You know, it's not the fact that you like doing something, it's having that discipline. You know what I'm saying? Like that discipline to beat everything. Once you know, you put that discipline in you, it's a game changer. And I think if you can have that discipline, know your routine, you know, I think that's the way you can avoid all of those type of, you know, things happening.
Yeah, I love that. Shawn, man, you did something that was crazy, and that's build a dope community. A lot of people can't build a community. People can have followers, but like you have people who truly, truly follow you, support you, show love. So how do we build our own sets, our own communities of people who actually want to support the podcast and just, you know, show as much love to you as possible? How do we build those things?
Yeah, I think the first thing is you got to figure out where they're hanging out at. You know, one of the coolest communities I ever built was, you know, Podcast Secrets Revealed with 43,000 you know, members on Clubhouse. Yeah. Was one that's like, all right, where are they at? Okay, cool. They're in this room or they're hanging out there. Let's just start showing up more. And then when you start showing up more, at some point, somebody's going to take you and, you know, put you in a position to kind of platform you so you can speak, so you can talk, so people can hear what you sound like. You know, and I was jumping in these rooms and people will hear me and they will follow, right? And then next thing you know, they're jumping over to your platform and what you had to offer. Same thing with Instagram, right? Whether, you know, they're hanging out on a certain page, commenting, you know, hey, how can you show up to the party? I think that's really the way you can really start building, you know, a community. Is one, figure out where they're hanging at. 2, start engaging. And 3, just let them see how dope you are.
Yeah, I love that, man. From checking out other interviews, dope conversations again, man. I love just, you know, hearing you like talk about, yo, maximizing getting like a big guest on your show, feeling worthy, feeling confident. For somebody who's on episode 2, episode 1, and they're afraid to reach out to Shawn, reach out to Nikki and Moose, Anthony O'Neal. How do you just build up like that confidence to say, yo, I'm worthy, and then when I do, get these people on the platform, it's going to be an amazing conversation. How do you do those things?
Yeah, I think, absolutely. I mean, shout out Nikki Moose and shout out to, Anthony O'Neal and all those guys. I think like you have to shoot your shot, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to shooting your shot. When I was at, episode 3, episode 4, I started interviewing people that I knew that was cool, that was maybe popping, a DJ, somebody that was really rocking it, locally. But then I started realizing, I can shoot my shot at somebody. And a lot of times when you think about shooting your shot, think about who's trying to get press right now. 9 times out of 10, it's a person who's about to release a book, on a book tour, on some type of promotion, something that they're doing. My biggest one at the very beginning was Ron Serhan, episode 7. I knew he was releasing a book. Those for you guys listening, my guy from from $1 Million Listing. I knew he had a book. He was really, trying to promote. And I reached out to him saying, hey, this is the mission behind the show. This is how we think it'd be a perfect fit. We locked in. That to me gave me the confidence to keep shooting higher. You know what I'm saying? And then it's just game on from there.
Man, I love that. Matthew Knowles interview, to me, like that's classic. Knowing that, you had a dope conversation with Beyonce's father, a man who pretty much was like the architect behind everything. How'd that feel, just like sharing a conversation, being on the same screen? How'd that feel?
Man, that's my mentor now, man. I talked to him.
Wow.
I've interviewed him probably about 4, maybe 5 times. I even brought him to Clubhouse for the first time. And he sent me, it's funny you say that, he sent me a text yesterday. He's the greatest teacher. One of the things that, I can say it because it's public information, but if you watch King Richard, get ready for what Matthew Knowles is about. You know what I'm saying? So that's the hint. Yeah. You can Google it, but if you see King Richard, get ready for what Matthew Knowles is about to do, because he's going to do something, and tell his story, and not only just the Beyonce story, but the people he's managed, like Kelly Rowland, and a lot, man. So I think that's gonna be dope to see that unfold. But I think like with that guy, just in general, it was one of those conversations where you're like, all right, cool, we own to something. And I remember the very first conversation we had, and the first thing he said was, man, they ain't tell me you was my brother. They ain't tell me.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. Yep.
That was within the first minute. You know what I'm saying? And we've been rocking with each other and locked in ever since.
Yeah, and Shawn, man, I think that speaks volumes to like how versatile you are. You could talk to people from all walks of life. So like, how does that feel knowing I could talk to somebody who could be a rich billionaire who's white, and I could talk to somebody who's a rich billionaire who's black, and then we can still connect? So how does that feel for podcasters? How does that feel for you?
Man, it's the gift from God. It's truly a blessing, man. You hit it on the head. I could talk to the most street, and I could talk to the most rich, and be respected in both rooms. You know what I'm saying? I think it's definitely, a gift. But I would say, if I can encourage anybody on how to attain that, it's really just being who you are. I think when you really are who you are, people are gonna see, the fake from the real. They're gonna want to know whether they want to rock with you. You know what I'm saying? And they just, naturally, just keep on tapping into that. So I'm very blessed, man. I think that's also one of the things about me that stands out the most. I knew that back when I was younger, I could go to different types of parties. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So my friends couldn't. So by far, bro.
I love that, man. Staying on that same point about being versatile. Nip in the background, huge inspiration for myself, man, as well. What have you taken from Nip, whether it's independence, whether it's, standing on your own 10, inspiring others? What do you take?
Yeah, man, I think one of the most things that he said that really stuck with me, man, there's so many. He had this one rap where he said, I reached every goal I ever set. I had to sit back down and rearrange that list. And I remember that it's one of my favorite bars from anybody. Yeah. In life, you set a list that you want to accomplish, right? Whether it's, all right, leave my job, have a certain amount of money in my pocket, buy my first home, buy my dream car, and I had that type of list, and I scratched all that list off. And then it's like, all right, cool, I got to rearrange that list. And now with the podcast game, my number one person I ever wanted on my show was Ed Milet. We did that, we did that in the 42nd episode. You got to sit back down and rearrange that list. So that's one of my favorite things that Nip's ever said. And he's also, spoke about learning how to do the job yourself. So it's time when he learned how to be his own engineer in case he didn't have one, he wasn't dependent upon. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think that by far, are my two biggest lessons from him.
Yeah, I love this, man. You dropping so much game, man. Shawn, right now, like you said, you had to rearrange that list. How does that feel knowing, yo, all of these things were astronomical goals at first, and I pretty much accomplished all these things pretty quickly. So how does that feel for you right now?
Yeah, man. These are as Kobe would say, man, and Kobe's right. Kobe's right beside Nip.
That's dope.
As Kobe would say,
Peace. Yeah, that's
job,
tough.
job's not finished. Job's not
Mm,
finished. It's Kobe.
mm.
It's Jay. You
Oh,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
If we go through there, it's Diddy. You know what I'm
Hey, you
saying?
got some classics, man.
You gotta surround yourself, man, with the vision, man, that you
Yeah.
see yourself that nobody else will see, right? Somebody
Mm,
listen to this right now. Your parents don't see your vision. Your friends don't see your
mm,
vision. Your cousin don't see your vision. But surround
mm,
yourself with people, you know what I'm saying, that you see their vision and you want to
mm.
be a part of that.
People, are you guys ready to turn your next idea into your business idea? If so, make sure to hit up the good folks at the Blk Agenda Firm, Coach Ken and the team. They will take great care of you. They'll do everything from establishing that LLC, that tough business plan, the business consultations, everything that you need to take that business off to the next level. If you're serious about becoming a full-time entrepreneur, scaling that business, making six figures plus, you already know who you got to contact, Coach Ken, the Blk Agenda Firm. Make sure to show them some love, tap in with them, and follow them on social media at the Blk Agenda, and also make sure to follow Coach Ken as well. We cannot wait for you to connect with him, have a great time, and also take that business to the next level and get that bag. Tap in again with the Blk Agenda Firm. I'm going to say it again, the Blk Agenda Firm. Check them out. Tap in. Talking about that vision, I know for creatives it's tough, right? Because, like you said, having the parents, not trusting it, the friends, the girlfriend, the boyfriend, whoever. How do we trust our vision as creatives? Because, as you know, it's already ebbs and flows. So how do we stay on that path of knowing, yo, I can and I will accomplish this goal?
You gotta ignore them. You might
Mm,
get some good advice every now and then, some safety advice, how to move in certain situations.
yeah.
But when it comes to creativity, you gotta know. You gotta know them.
Mm,
If you don't ignore them, then you end up doing something you should never do. You
mm.
know what I'm saying? Like, there are people that say, hey, you should do, your podcast should be done with two people. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if it was done with two people in the early stages and one
Mm.
of us fell off.
Yeah.
What we were doing right now.
Yeah.
So I think you got to stick to your vision. And sometimes even what you see, it might not be big as it's going to be.
Mm.
But sometimes you got to see that first to know that there's still a ways to go. I think that's important.
That's it, man. I think it was on Anthony O'Neill's podcast, if I'm not mistaken. But you said a heavy bar from Dipset, actually. So I know some people actually gonna love it. You got to stay as hungry as you were when you first started. I'm like, yo, that's it. That's it. How do we just stay hungry? Because I already know, like some people, they might say, yo, I want to start a podcast and I'm gonna keep grinding and I'm gonna be so excited. And then when they get their first million views, 10 million views, oh, I'm good. I'm straight. I ain't posting no more. So like, how do we keep going and then to stay hungry throughout the process?
Yeah, man. That bar there, I got the hunger that you had when you first started. It was a
Mm.
Dipset bar
Yeah.
from J.R. Ryder. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And J.R. Ryder had them bars and all going on. I had the hunger that you have, but it's the same story,
Yeah.
like because you get comfortable, right? So you
Mm.
gotta when you become comfortable, you kind of fall off your rocket. You kind of stop
Mm.
doing things you were doing. You know what
Facts.
I'm saying? So to get comfortable is probably the worst thing that you could possibly do. And I mean, when I think about that hunger that you had when you first started, there was a part in Genius with Kanye
Mm.
where you saw Pharrell after he heard through the wire what he then said to him. Hey, when you get hot, just remember how hungry you are right now.
Yeah.
And stay like that. Don't
That's
feel like
real.
you're that hot. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because that's somebody who's been there, and that's when you start to see people fall off. So to me, I got that same hunger. Like I was going to work trying to get out that jungle. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And I
Yeah.
think, I ain't going back to that jungle. So that's the hunger you gotta have. Or whether you was in a bad situation financially, you can't get out your people's crib. Like when you got out that crib, remember how it was when you was in that crib. You know
Facts.
what I mean? If you keep that hunger, you're gonna be successful.
That's real talk. Man, you killed it in corporate, got promoted 6 times, which is crazy. Like Michael Jordan of corporate, it's pretty much 6 rings, killing it, man. What did you take from corporate and then instilled that in podcasting, creating content, consulting, coaching, the whole nine?
Yeah, man. I had one of those cool jobs where I was pretty much the brand manager. You know, I was a brand manager at Target. I was a brand manager at
Oh, you
Belk.
already doing that now?
I was a
Yeah.
brand manager. You see where we're going? I was a brand
Yeah.
manager with, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
with Macy's. And I think like for me, like that's what really helped a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding how brands work, understanding what brands do to be successful, how they structure their day, what goals
Right.
they're going after, you know, how
Right.
they're marketing themselves, what commercials they, you know, how they position themselves, who their market is, and taking, you know, that stats, those data, those analytics, almost like creating your own company. Right? All right, they did this format, I'm gonna do it this format. I need to achieve, you know, this amount this amount this week. I need to achieve this amount this month. You know what I mean? And then figuring out those goals. I think for me, that's what I've, you know, taken from, you know, working corporate all those years and now applying it not only to me, but to, you know, the people that are, you know, my clients and brands that I'm trying to build.
Yeah. This week, man, seeing on your page, you've been extremely busy, killing it with creative content for all your clients, helping them, facilitating, connecting folks. And I'll probably ask this instead. What do you love the most about connecting with people and helping other people connect with other people as well? What do you
Oh,
love about that?
absolutely. What I like the most about it is that I like what happens after the connection is made, right? When you're helping, you know, impactful people and you introduce them to more impactful people, the overall impact is only going to be a lot higher. You know, so I think that to me is the biggest jewel, because I know, okay, now that you know this person, the world's gonna go up in this way. You know, or there's a lot of people that's going to be helping this way. So for me, that's the biggest reward of them all, is to make those introductions to people that, you know, they may admire, they may have seen before, but now they know they can work together.
Yeah. Earlier, man, we talked about Clubhouse, but also, what did you take from being in private rooms talking to influential people? Like, overall, what tangible items did you get from being so influential in Clubhouse? What did you get from it?
Oh, from Clubhouse. Oh, so I mean, Clubhouse introduced me to, you know, a lot of people, you know, that I've now, you know, met in person. You know, and I think like what those conversations show you, those conversations, they challenge you to think bigger. You know, they challenge you to become more aware. They challenge you to kind of, you know, really be quiet, listen, but also figure out what you can do and what you can give and you can add that can help them, and then vice versa. So I
Facts.
think by far those early stages, especially something like Clubhouse, it was, all right, how do you get those people that you really want to, you know, network with off of the app? You know, and figure out other things you can do together. You know, whether it's, you know, courses, whether it's ebooks, whether it's, you know, interviews, all those type of things are really, you know, for me, that's what it did.
Yeah. Shawn, if you can you speak on the overall importance of following up with people, whether it's, you know, from social media apps, whether it's meeting in person? Sometimes, and all times, really, like, following up is like the key to the game of staying in touch and then actually getting that person on your show, connecting with that person, like you said, building courses, things like that. So if you can you please speak on that?
Yeah, man, the follow-up game is what's probably the most important. You know, but
Yeah.
also just being aware to what's happening to them in their life. You know, whether, you know, they're having, you know, a baby, you know, whether or not, you know, a family member or them maybe, you know, have gotten, you know, sick, you
Yeah.
know, or whether or not it's somebody's birthday, you know, having that, you know, in your mind when you initially make a contact, so that when you are, you know, talking to each other, it's not always about something business like. It's something about like, look, yo, I'm here, homie, I got you and I care for you. If you need anything, holler at me. You know, I think that's how you really build it up. You know, whether, you know, they got a certain type of anniversary in their life or some type of, you know, accomplishment or reward, you know, congratulate them, you know, reach out to them. You know, everybody wants to feel like as they're going through life that people care for them. And I think it sounds simple, but it's truly the shift that you see with a lot of relationships.
Love that, man. Nurturing relationships, that's so important. Right now, podcasting is changing the game. We're seeing millions, billions being spent on advertising dollars, all that stuff. But starting from like ground zero, how do we monetize our platforms?
Yeah, I think for round zero, you have to say, okay, what do you currently have right now that you have a skill set in, that you've packaged together, that you can sell and become your own ad, become your own infomercial, right? Whether you know you have a course, you have a webinar, or a product line, or a T-shirt, or something that you're selling, you know, become your own commercial within your show, you know, and shift the audience that way. And what's going to happen is, as you continue to do episodes, you find out your voice, your vibe between your guests. You might then start to attract a different type, a brand you weren't even imagining you could have sponsor you. So I think that's the fastest way to get to the bag.
I love that. Like you said, finding that voice. So which episode would you probably say that you found Shawn's voice of, yo, I got something special here?
I would say episode 42 with Ed Milet.
42. Wow.
Because physically on set, sometimes you need to act. You have to feel like you've been affirmed, but when you're affirmed by people you admire, it feels a little different. You know what I'm saying? And so like, when someone tells you, look, if you keep at this thing, you stay consistent at this thing, you can take off. You know what I mean? And for him to tell me that, and to tell me he felt like, I was unique, sometimes, that's all the one comment you need that you put in the back of your head when you feel like you can't really keep going or you can't really, do what you want to do. Just got to challenge yourself to think about that moment and run with it. So I would say 42 is when I realized, it's about to be game on now.
Man, talk about that, though. Like, you put in work for 42 episodes until you felt like, yo, I got something. So how'd you keep going all the way up to episode 42? Because most people would probably say by like episode 10, all right, I haven't found my voice. This probably ain't it. Let me find something else. But you went 40 plus episodes.
Yeah,
so how was that process?
I think that process is just, I'm always somebody who can stay true to what I'm doing, right? And it might be, that comment someone says that, y'all listen to your show is dope. Or I like what you got going on. Or I like what you're doing. They might do it in the comment section. They might do it privately. So I knew I had, something that people wanted to listen to. I think what 42 did was say, there's something I can do for real. You know what I mean? And I think you have to find out what those little moments are and just continue to store those little moments and just stay consistent with what you're doing. So if you start, time blocking your days where you're batching content, you're just consistently putting it out there, you're already getting disciplined, right? And when you're disciplined, it becomes a routine. And if you're falling to your routines, it won't feel like, it's unordinary for you, so you can't stop. You know what I mean? And I did that till I got to 42, and then I got those words, and then I had a whole different mindset.
Man, I love that. On your page, too, man. Again, you be dropping so many bars, but another quote, it's not on you, it's in you, man. If you can you please expound upon that for us?
Yeah, man. I think like it don't matter what you got on. Like it don't matter what you got on. What really matters is, what can you bring in terms of value? Like what can you bring in terms of value? How do people feel when you're in a room? How do people feel when you walk out the room? You know what I'm saying? And are you staying, true to who you're supposed to be? Like I tell people all the time, I would much rather repel you where you don't want to rock with me. You know what I'm saying? Then I would much rather do that and attract everybody that's for me. You know what I mean? And I think, to me, that's the life I want to live. And that's how I want to move.
Yeah, living that life, man. So speaking on life, how does Shawn today feel thinking about how far you came from even 3 years ago, starting from episode 1, starting from not even knowing about podcasting to now being one of the top, if not the top voice where it comes to podcast information? How does that feel knowing, how far you came just 3 years in the 3 years time?
Yeah, man. I think we getting into it. You know what I'm saying? And I think the cool thing about being who you are, right? Remaining who you are, dressing how you want to dress, talk how you want to talk, and you add the education piece onto it. That's like your spinoff, And for me, like there are people that I can always learn from, but I couldn't learn everything from them because some things I didn't relate. So I just didn't relate to them. You know what I'm saying? So being like that type of voice where I had the ability, like I said earlier, to be diverse, that people are attracted to it, that's a blessing, man. And I think, looking back from episode 1 to now, I'm just first off, just proud, but at the same time, I'm like, yo, we just getting started.
Man, I love that. So far, man, what do you love the most about educating people when it comes to podcasting? Because right now it's a big industry, it's blowing up right now. But like, what do you love about just, sitting down with folks if they have questions about podcasting, being able to go on live, being able to do interviews, your own podcast? What do you love about just sharing game when it comes to podcasting?
Yeah, man, I think helping people share game, man, just sharing game on the podcasting space and showing people how to do it. It's an eye opener. You're helping people have another avenue to kind of leave a legacy for themselves. Like you can, have hundreds of episodes, and can pass away, and your kids can listen to it. Like imagine you could go right now, sit back, put on the headphones, and listen to like your great grandma, your granddaddy, like you know how much people would pay to do that. You know
Hey,
what I'm
that's
saying?
deep. Yeah, yeah,
And they can't, right? They can't do
yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I know I'm helping them create an avenue that's gonna be a new platform for them where they don't have to depend on just Instagram. And they can truly find, their audience. I think so. That's the biggest joy of it all, but also too helping them escape. Helping them escape the situation, helping them escape, that job, helping them, escape that turmoil they might have, went through in their life and start to vent and start to talk about it. But also figure out, hey, there's another road I can take. And creating their own life and their own journey.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. So, Shawn, as a podcasting expert, where do you see the whole industry going, and just podcasters and creatives heading to within the next 5 to 10 years?
I think podcasting, I mentioned this out loud, man, but I think at some point, I think podcasting could overtake TV. I think because
Yeah, I
at the
agree.
end of the day, what are we really watching TV for? Outside of Netflix, we're
That's
probably
true.
just catching up with sports,
In
right?
sports, yeah.
It
I was just about to say that.
used to be a big TV show era, but the TV shows now, I mean, much rather watch $1 million worth of game,
That's real.
than
Yeah,
to watch something else.
yeah.
I'd
Hey, that's
rather,
real
I'd
talk.
rather somebody say, hey, my man, Just Jay Cash, that homie interview skills 100. Yeah, Jay, they 100.
I appreciate y'all, man. Much
Yeah,
love, man. Shawn,
yeah,
what do you
man.
think separates you, man, from everybody else out there? All the other podcasters, all the other dope creatives. What separates Shawn Anthony, man, from everybody else?
Man, I think it's one on me too. I think I have a gift of gab where the diversity is crazy. And that goes back to the Clarence Avon, right? Clarence Avon, the
Yeah.
Godfather, the co-signer
That's
of
a
what I'm
great
doing.
documentary too, by the way. Hey, that's one of my favorites.
And it's like that, yeah, it's very interesting,
Yeah.
but I think that's what separates me is that I can walk in a room, I can relate, with every different type of audience, and people rock with me. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the separation, that's the key. It ain't forced, it's genuine, it's kind, it's like, hey, let's do this, let's make something happen. And I think that's what separates, right? That's what separates it all. And I think that's what makes people attracted.
Yeah. Earlier too, man, you said another bar about, making people feel when you leave the room and when you come in. So for content creators, who could be somewhat shy, how do they build up that confidence of knowing, yo, when I walk in this room, I'm going to own the room, I'm going to meet people, I'm going to talk to people?
Yeah, man. I think that to beat that shyness, or like you have to start trying out different types of content.
Yeah.
Trying out different types of content. Maybe the first type of content you try out is it's in a word form, right? Where you're writing your thoughts in words, seeing if it's relatable to people. Maybe you've come across a piece of content that's catchy right now with some type of meme, with some type of song. How can you put your niche onto that song and try that out? See if that relates to people. I think you got to just continue to try things, till you find out what's most comfortable for you. And then also to find out what your audience is adapting to the most. My content over the last 30 days has kind of changed. I'm like more of a like, all right, cool. How do I show you the behind the scenes? Because everyone's telling me, from my stories, like, yo, I want to see the behind the scenes. So this is like a movie. So it's like, all right, cool. This is what I'm
Yeah.
already doing. Let me show you the movie. You know what I'm saying? And I think you have
Yeah.
to figure out what your audience likes and start serving that up more.
Man, I love that. Listening to that audience, that core group. How do we not stay stubborn? Because I already know with creatives, Kanye, he showed it sometimes too, of like sometimes, like this is my vision, I'm gonna do this. So how do we find like a balance of not being too open, but also not too stubborn as well when it comes to our audience?
Yeah, I think the balance, man, of not being too stubborn is that one, like, if you're putting something out, right, and ain't nobody saying nothing to you about it, you kind of figure out, okay, I need to switch it up, right?
Yeah.
If this was a business and I was trying to sell you, a product, and nobody would ever, purchase it, or perhaps, this was a restaurant, no one would ever, take that cookie from you. You might want to add a different flavor to it. You might want to add, a different spice to it. To kind of see if it, garner that attention. And for me, I think, that's how you maneuver in those situations. Is start serving what people are asking for. If people are commenting and say, yo, I like this, or y'all want to see more of this, or can you show me that? Whether you're putting up polls, you can be putting up polls in your stories, start looking at the audience and the percentages. You know what I'm saying? Like even with Clubhouse, I was like, hey, I would put up a poll one time. I'm like, yo, y'all really on Clubhouse like that? You know, so I'm just trying to gain to the audience. Like, okay, are we still rocking with it, or we not rocking with it? Do we need to dumb down? Do 1 time a month? You know what I'm saying? Versus doing 4 times a month. You know what I mean? So I think those are some ways to beat that stubbornness.
Man, I love that. Shawn, too, man. Are you doing something that's very unselfish about just going on your page, talking to the people, whether, it's the reels, going on live. What just sparks that overall mindset of, yo, I'm gonna give back? Because, like, most people, they can say, yo, I made it. I'm good. I'm like the podcasting king right now. I ain't gonna tell y'all nothing. Instead, man, all you're doing is just sharing value. What sparks that?
Yeah, man. It goes back to why I created the show, School's Over and Now What. I wanted people to say, why are you getting all these big names? Like, I wanted to get the insights. I wanted to get the secrets, but I wanted to give it back to my people. How can I do that? I'm gonna create a show where I'm just gonna interview all the people who've done that, and we're gonna get this free game. So like, as I'm learning the game, I'm like, all right, cool. How do I do that? How do I pass it down? How do I share, skills? How do I connect with these people? How can I, elevate, my standard in life? How did I leave my job? How did I say, what, bet it all on me, I'm gonna win. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's that give back and that bigger picture that definitely helped me.
Man, I love that. Your first full-time day as a real podcast, like full-time podcaster, post-working corporate, what was that whole experience like? How'd that feel knowing, yo, I took that leap?
Oh man, it felt crazy. You know what I'm saying? It felt crazy because then you figure like, oh, I feel like somebody's supposed to be calling you for something or somebody needs something. But I was already doing that, but I was already doing it 4 times a month. But I never knew I was doing it. So basically what I mean by that is, when I was off there 1 day a week, when I was working at my job, I was working for me. So I was already developing a skill set of planning my day. Now I'm taking that and I'm multiplying it, and I think people are starting to see that now where, the last, 3 years I was giving you content, but I was just giving you content. That's all I could give you. Now I can really just be like, here you go. You know what I'm saying? And it's because the skill set and that discipline was put in to learn that when it was time to move, I knew how to move.
I love that, man. One of my 2 last questions I got you for young creatives who are afraid to start that podcast or to start that platform and just have fun with it, create some content. What words of encouragement do you have, towards them of, yo, take that leap, get started, whether it's ugly, just get started?
Yeah, I think you got to think about, I think Sabrina said no one's clocking his lunch anymore. That's facts. She knows that. She knows that. To that young creator, to the young creator listening, I think you have to say, who is at a disservice if I don't do this, right? Your family could be at a disservice, right? Like maybe there might be more time you want to spend with them, and you can't, right? So if that's the case, that's your goal. Go out there and do what you got to do to be able to get that to them. So I would tell the young creators, what gift are you leaving on the table? Or what gift can you continue to nurture until it's time for you to bet it all on you? Or what skill sets you haven't mastered that you can still learn from that job. You know what I'm saying? Until it's your time. So that's what by far I would tell a young creator that.
Shawn, man, you gave us so much game. It's crazy. Again, this conversation, it will be saved. But before we bounce, man, where do you see Shawn Anthony within the next 5 to 10 years? Your podcast, your business, you as a regular, everyday person, family man, whole 9. Where do you see yourself?
Man, I love this question because I'm like on some real Kanye type vibe, and I know saying it out loud is going to happen.
You're going to speak it into existence.
Everything in my life, man. I'm going to tell some people, so one of my hacks to speaking things into existence is that like I would go put myself in certain situations and environments. And then next thing you know, they would start to show up. Whether I would go test drive, it's a little slight flex. I would go test drive the Porsche. And then I got the Porsche.
Talk about it. Yeah.
I would try on the rollies. And I got it. You know what I'm saying? So I would see a house that I want, and then we get it. You know what I'm saying? And so I think you gotta envision it. So I would say I'm gonna envision, in the next 5 years, 1, I'm a household name. Two, I'm representing some of the biggest names on the planet, and I'm gonna be the Rich Paul of entrepreneurs. And if you don't know who Rich Paul is, you got to go ahead and Google him. But I'm gonna do that. But I'm gonna do that in this lane.
Man, you sparked something. So I lied. One last question, because what you said was heavy, man. How important, man, is it for us to manifest and also be in the room, whether it's with, a person that you want to collab with, whether, it's a car that you want to drive, a watch, a chain, a house. How important, man, is that just to walk inside, be in the room, feel it, touch it, breathe it in?
It's worth everything. It's worth, when I say it's worth everything, I'm like it's worth everything. Like if you somebody right now and you got $100, like this is how serious I'm about this. If you had $100 to your name, right? If you had $100 to your name, I say, yo, $100, you will have dinner with so and so, so and so, and so and so, and you look up to all of them or see them on the internet, right? But if I told you this is your last $100, you don't have no job, and when you come out of this room, that's it, right? I'm telling you right now, I would spend $100 to get in that room. Right, because you're going to have the most eye-opening conversations. Someone's going to expose you to information you didn't even know existed. Someone's going to give you a strategy you didn't even know was possible. Someone's going to see something in you that they want to build with and want to connect with. And I think you have to get in that room. And sometimes if you're not even in that room, you got to get to that surroundings and get to that place. Now, I'm blessed enough to be in certain places where I'm able to see the world in different angles. You know what I'm saying? It ain't talking about like just like see the world and like, oh, okay, I see the world at like this stop sign. No, I'm talking like really like 2 feet on the ground, seeing the world in an angle that you can't even see on TV. That this might be my last time envisioning this. You know what I mean? And to see that, you start seeing more for yourself. You start seeing more for yourself. You know what I'm saying? And I think, to me, I just wish I could, bring more people on to see that type of stuff. But I think the best thing I do right now is talk about it. Because as I talk about it, it's gonna spark somebody listening to this to do something. Whether it's to go to that park tomorrow, whether it's to drive to that mountain that they keep hearing about they ain't never been. You got to get there and just see what the world's about and see what conversations people have to offer. And I think that's everything.
I love it, man. Shawn, where can everybody follow you, keep up with the podcast, get in touch with you, join your dope community, get coaching, everything?
Yeah, man. First off, man, you did a great interview, bro. You got a question, you did the research.
Humble, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody been rocking with it. Y'all gonna drop a 100 emoji for my guy.
I appreciate
you.
Humble,
drop
man.
a 100 emoji for him. He did a good job with interviews.
Thank you.
But if you're looking for you know what I'm saying, then we got to offer. You can find me on all platforms at Shawn Anthony _ You can listen to the podcast. School's Over Now What on all audio platforms. Go to schoolsovernow.com if you want to be coach. Any of those things, man, and just stay in tune and keep rocking with us. Dream it, believe it, and go out and get it.
Man, Shawn, I have to say real quick, man, as a young creative, man, myself, everybody around me, man, we appreciate you. Keep doing what you're doing. You killing it, man. Much love. Major inspiration.
Appreciate you, bro. Stay in touch.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, you take it easy.
All right, peace.